Okay, so running a little bit behind. I'm waiting on a few guests that are going to be jumping in. I figured I wouldn't leave everyone waiting too long. Um, while we're waiting for them to get here and everything gets squared away, I wanted to have a brief conversation about something really interesting that happened, but unfortunately, I can't show the video because it just lags up everything really bad. But I was reading on X that at the CPAC convention, um, people who were part of the J6 committee, the J6ers, just in general, they had originally been cleared to come to CPAC. And then as they were getting ready to show up, they got pulled aside by security and told, "Look, we can't let you in, this, that, the other." And then evidently a few hours later, that was reversed and they were allowed to go in. So there's a lot going on. I want to see if there's an update on the Cash Patel for the head of FBI. Give me 2 seconds. I'm sure it will be all over X.
Twitter.
Twitter. Love my son. Yeah, former J6ers or have allegedly been kicked out of CPAC. Oh, nope, it got reversed again, maybe. This is interesting. Hold on, give me a second. I'm trying to find out if Cash Patel got elected. Um, yes, Cash Patel has been confirmed as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have Cash Patel in.
Who's Cash Patel?
He's the one who helped with the Twitter files that busted how Twitter was being used to
Launder money?
No, censor people. So, that's hit the news. Just happened. Cash Patel has been nominated for head of FBI. Um, okay, hold on one second. Okay, may or may not. We're looking like we're having tech issues for some people. So, yes, Cash Patel nominated. A lot of J6ers were kicked out of CPAC. Not sure why that is. There's been no official word on it yet. Um, I am quite surprised by that, really. Why are they being kicked out? That's a really good question. And I bet it's going to be a day or two before we even have answers.
Trump.
No, actually, I don't think Trump's behind it.
Yeah, I know.
At all. Um, so yeah, that is weird. Why would they kick them all out like that? That doesn't make any sense. Um, in the meantime, though, there was a couple of cute little things I wanted to share. Oh, it looks like we have someone. You're gonna have to turn on your camera and unmute. Um, for it. Well, I'm sure you get that much. It's a pain in the rear. But if the camera is at least not on, even with just a logo thing, it won't pull you up onto this stage. But your voice will still come through. That's the good news. Your voice will still come through. If the PC will cooperate. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it, folks? I'm trying to see who all we can get together for this panel thing. Um, let's see if I can. I see you backstage, but it won't bring you forward or unmute you. There, you're unmuted.
Okay. So and I actually had the camera there I am. Okay.
There you are. Yeah, like I have literally had to start shutting animes down in the background. Um, because it just bogs down my PC really bad.
Which I had done that, but what I had not done is at the bottom when you first come in, you have to, enable the camera,
Uh-huh.
and I had not yet done that, and I'm because we've been using the other studio, I'm at the top and I'm looking, I'm like, "Where the heck is it's supposed to be up in this corner." No, that's over on,
Rivers
Brookside
yeah, in
Riverside.
order for me to get any ad revenue from Rumble, I have to use Rumble Studio. And, yeah, it's a bugger. It
Yeah.
is. But at least it works, and, we can chit chat. I know Dee was talking about dropping in and possibly Blue Rose, it's been asked, and I have no problem with it. I absolutely not. I'm just not sure where that's going. I dropped a link, for them. We'll see if they pop in. Um, and I was just talking about all the people at CPAC who all the January 6ers who got booted from the CPAC, thing going on today. And
What's the
Kash
CPAC?
Patel is officially our director of the FBI.
What's the CPAC?
Okay.
CPAC is a political convention thing.
And who's allowed to go in?
Evidently not the people who had been arrested for January 6th that
Even if they
Trump
were
pardoned.
innocent?
Yeah, potentially innocent or lesser crimes, not ones that deserve 10 years in prison. My son, I wish he would just get a mic and join me. I really wish
Oh,
he would.
oh,
So,
her obscenities.
but yeah, there's a quite a bit going on today. So, I guess we could kind of probably start with the SNAP program. I did a bit of digging, just, cursory run of the mill stuff, and it was saying that Trump has not signed a bill for it yet, and that was as
No,
of
he has not.
February 3rd. But what's being kicked around that is scaring people. It's kind of like the whole thing that they said about the child support that the men would be able to claim the kids on the taxes. That was a big, big level of propaganda being pushed by somebody. And so, I'm not really sure what the deal is, but there's a lot of fear mongering going around. And
Yes.
there was the whole actually one of them that does lead up to the whole snap thing. Well, I see you're trying to get that adjusted.
I
Um
am.
so what I'm going to point out is there was someone who had covered that supposedly all SSRIs were going to be pulled from the market and everyone would be randomly cut off. No, he just wants to review and do more studies. He's not taking the meds away. And that camp that they keep screaming about is a voluntary camp. That if you want to get off of prescription or illegal drugs or any other dependency you have, it is a camp that can go up to 3 or 4 years for addiction recovery. And I think that's a brilliant idea. Like, so we have a bunch of people freaking out right now about RFK Jr., and they're not even paying attention to the full story. They're just getting the fear mongering highlights.
Yeah,
And oh,
that
go ahead.
that really that really doesn't surprise me because, I'm seeing a lot of I think this is the best I'm gonna get.
It's
I'm in
okay.
screen, what can I say? Um, there seems to be and the thing is, in my opinion, it's the left that seems to be fear-mongering, so instead of but it could be either side because we saw this back during Biden's administration where somebody in the government says, "Hey, we want to try this thing," and all you're hearing about is how horrible it's going to be. And nobody's actually taking the time to look and say, "Okay, how is that actually going to work?" Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Go
They
ahead.
hear camp and they think concentration camps or FEMA camps and it's like, okay, go actually read about what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah. And that's actually, Crackle on my server. He sent me a message the other day. A friend sent him an article, and it was this fear mongering of the reform to the VA, the Veterans Affairs. it was going to be all kinds of horrible for actual veterans and this, that, and the other. And I go through and I read what was actually being proposed, a real article that was neutral. And it did say there was some concerns that people might have a harder time getting their disability ratings. But then I'm like, yes, I think we need to do this a little bit, and not to be mean to the veterans, but have y'all heard of stolen valor? There are people out there claiming veterans benefits who weren't actually veterans, or were for a temporary time, but got there's ways that they've been scamming the system. I don't know exactly how, but I've heard stories. There was that one chick, what was it, like 2 years ago, who got found guilty and had to pay back like something like $16 million to the Veterans Affairs, um, because she was claiming she was injured. She had all these illnesses and stuff and all this other stuff, that she was a veteran and she wasn't. It was 100% falsified documents that they never double checked. And it was a disaster. So I think we do need to do this. And by cleaning up the system and cutting out the fraud, the veterans are going to get more in the long run. So I know there's like just all this fear mongering out here. And as for the SNAP benefits, let's let's dive into the pros and cons of this. I know
Okay.
you had some questions, but I'm going to just give a rundown of what they're describing as junk food because I found it. Candy
Aha.
bars, snack cakes, sodas.
Okay. What I would like to see in regards to those particular items, because that was actually one of my big concerns is, I don't think they should be cut completely. I think there needs to be a way, since we're going to have to redo how benefits are tracked anyway.
Hmm.
I think there needs to be a way to put a limit on what you can buy. So I have no problem with the mother who is buying her kids a case of soda, once a week,
Yeah.
or is buying a couple boxes of like the snack cakes for them to take in their lunches.
Yes.
But I think there needs to be a limit on percentage wise how much of your benefits you can spend on that,
Exactly.
right?
And I know some states had
So that you
implemented similar, like you can't keep buying shrimp and steak on your food stamps. They will cut your benefits off for that.
right, I I think that for me it speaks to I don't want the mothers who are solely and I shouldn't say mothers, the people who are solely relying on, um, sugary snacks for their kids all the time, right?
Yeah.
You need to get some type of real food into these kids, and I
When
think
the
that
receipts
that's
show nothing but chips and snack cakes and unhealthy foods, what most people
right.
consider unhealthy, that's different. Like when years ago I had been on food stamps for while I was in college trying to get through. I had two kids at the time, both on the autism spectrum. We all know this now. And so I had been on there, but I was buying fruits and vegetables and meat from the butcher shop. I'm not buying processed garbage. And most people don't know you can actually buy seeds for gardens, vegetable
I
plants,
yes.
and even apple trees on food stamps. Apple and
Yeah,
orange and peach trees.
there are things that you can do with food stamps that people are not being told, right? So I was on food stamps years ago, years and years
Mhm.
ago, but I had no clue that I could have gotten double credit for and to give you an idea of when I was on food stamps actually came in a booklet and it was
Yes.
it looked like Monopoly money.
Yes, I remember
So
that from when my mom and dad divorced.
everybody knew if you were using food stamps. There was none of this
Yep.
very discreet, it's on a card, maybe that's a debit card, maybe it's not. Everybody knew. And
Yeah.
it is embarrassing. But I did not know that I could get it's like double credit if I were going to a farmer's market.
Yeah.
to buy my fresh vegetables. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that I could buy tomato plants to make things for because obviously when you're in a household with food stamps, you're not the only one eating.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could have bought pepper plants. I could have bought tomato
I
plants
you
and
know,
fed the kids, you know,
fresh
and it would have
stuff.
been right, and it would have been cheaper because I was buying fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. I just didn't know I had the option to get plants
I only
and
found
grow
out
any
about
of
it
it
2
myself.
years ago. I only found out about this 2 years ago when someone else brought it up. I saw it in
Yeah,
a TikTok post, actually, and I'm like, "Wait, that can't be true." So I checked my state. Yeah, damn right it is true. You can get yourself an apple tree, plant it in your yard, and have seasonal fresh fruit for your kids.
yeah. I actually posted this in the Discord server, what, 3 years ago, the server
Yes.
that we were both on. I think that was like 3 years ago, and no, it would have been 4 years ago because it was under surviving Biden's economy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It was at the
Yeah,
beginning of his election
yeah,
in 2020-ish.
right, so and we were
Oh,
we were trying to
wow.
help people. Yeah, so it's been 4 years now, when I
Wow.
learned it. Um, yeah, and it's something I wish I had known. Understand, I am not going after the women who are using, like, Hamburger Helper or
Oh,
those
no, use
packaged,
that stuff.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I mean, and if you're on food stamps, you know this, we got $125 in benefits.
Mhm.
That's what we got. And obviously that's not covering 100% of your meals.
No,
It's
it's
not.
not.
I it's just not.
Unless you know how to
I
shop smart, like, really smart shopping, and you don't find the
yes.
same meals over and over again.
Well, and here is one of the things that I learned because like I said, we were on food stamps. We were we were raising somebody else's kids. We were struggling.
Yep.
Even I mean, I had a decent job, but it wasn't enough. You
Mhm.
know, You- when you're making choices between putting food on the table and paying your electric bill, it's not enough.
Yes. It's never
Okay.
enough at that point.
So so yes, I was using my food stamp benefits, and this is something that people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you used to do that." But back then, occasionally they would have like beef brisket,
Yes.
and it would be a full brisket, and it would be like $65. I would buy that
I would
because I
too.
can cut that buy that I can cut it into roasts. I can
Yep.
if you're like, we shopped at Kroger. The butcher there, I could actually take it to them and say, "Okay, can you cut this into, you know, I want
This,
half
that,
of
and
it
the
in
other.
roast. Can you cut" Right, and he would do that for me. The same thing with pork loin. So, like and this literally just the other day I did this. They had a pork loin on clearance, and it was like a 4 or 5 pound pork roast, and it was $7. And
Yeah.
I went up to Mark and I said, "Mark, can you cut half of this into medallions and then so I will end up with 2 roasts, half of it medallions, and half of those medallions, can you run those through the cuber?" And he was like, "Oh, for tenderloins." I said, "Yes." So I walked out of there with 2 pork roasts, 6 medallions, like the type that you
Yep.
bake and with like gravy, and 6 tenderloins.
You know what we've done? We have bought the pork chops like the pork loins like that, and we will cut 2 and I've bought one that was about 10 pounds. I think
Yeah.
I spent about $30 on it. This was some years ago. I cut it into 2 roasts and a bunch of chops, thin and thick, boneless
Yes.
pork chops,
Yes.
and there is like 8 meals if you cook it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is people are afraid, okay? So
Yes.
they think it's really, really difficult. I could have done everything except for cubing at home, and I probably could have done that.
Oh, I've done it with an electric knife for carving turkey because I didn't have a meat
Yes,
slicer at the time. You watch if I don't find a
right.
way.
Right, my hands right now, they're swollen, I have trouble, so I was concerned that it wasn't yeah, standing there, I could do it with a meat mallet. I actually have several.
Yeah,
I standing there and pounding, I'm thinking, "I'm just gonna screw up my hands," and why when I can get the guy at the meat counter to do it for me. Mark is a
bingo.
lovely person, and he's like, "That's why I'm here." But if you find especially if you find meat on clearance, buy
Yes.
it,
Oh, you
portion
know
it
what we
out.
used to do? Because, of course, we're down here in the middle of Kentucky, so country ham's everywhere. A whole country ham, smoked, dried,
Oh,
hanging
yeah.
on a rack. Buy it for 20 bucks, ask them to slice it down, and there you go. You got your slices for your eggs, you got your slices for your breakfast. If you just want country ham on the side, you can cut it up and mix it in with whatever the hell you want, scalloped potatoes. Like,
Yeah,
buy a
one of the
dried,
things that
salted country ham.
I'll I'll do you one better. When spiral slice hams go on sale, and they go on sale even in this
Easter
economy, they go on sale
and
for like
yep.
s but it's like 79 cents a pound.
Buy a couple
So
and
it's
freeze them.
incredibly cheap.
Yes,
Cut them
buy
up.
them and freeze
They're
them.
already pre-cooked. Those are completely cooked. You don't
Yes.
have to do anything. Cut them
Yep.
off the bone
And eat
and freeze it, guys.
and then pour me in soup with the
Freeze the
bone afterwards.
with
Been
a
there,
bone.
done
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. You know, the slices, you cut those off, you put them in a freezer bag, throw them in your freezer. You're going to end up with a nice chunk at the end that's not pre-sliced. You cut that into pieces, and that goes into like your soups,
Yep.
or like you said, your scalloped potatoes, or whatever.
You can
You
make food
can
stamps
figure.
go a hell of a long way if you
I've
budget
I've
right.
done it, but people are not being, and I think that that's something I wouldn't make it mandatory. But I think it should be an
Education.
option.
I think that people should be
Yes.
educated because you and I were more familiar with people who are older generations. We really talked to the people from the Great Depression, the ones who survived it. And, like our
Yes.
grandparents and our parents who had to grow up on a budget. We have learned this over our lifetime. A lot of people have never learned this over their lifetime. And they're just now getting hit with, what do I do? And it's like, well, here's some tips, but I guarantee the food stamp office ain't going to tell you this. Everyone's like, "Ooh, I got free money for groceries. I can go buy all this stuff we want." Forget what you want. What do you need? What do you need?
That's a
You
big
can
one.
buy bulk of the fresh green beans. Snap them, freeze them. You have fresh green beans
Snap
all the
them,
time.
blanch them,
Or
but
hey,
and
can
that's
them.
it. Right, and here's the thing, that's why I said I think there needs to at least be the option for there
Yes.
to be some type of education, because, okay, you literally said, "Buy them, snap them, freeze them," but do people know you've got to boil them for 2 minutes in order to
Before you
freeze
can
them
freeze them. Oh, yeah.
successfully? Right,
Exactly.
and
I guess I
that's
jump over parts because I'm so used
right,
to
no,
doing
no,
it.
right, but that's fine, but what happens to the young person, the young gentleman or lady who for the very first time is faced with this? They go get a mess of green beans, they snap them, and they freeze them, and then they
And
unfreeze them, and
they're
they're not
mush.
edible. They're like, I don't understand," because
Yeah,
nobody has, and I think that that should be a part of at least optional education. Hey, look, if you're going to buy these things, let me at least show you how to, you know,
do this.
this is how to preserve something.
Mhm.
People are afraid because they literally don't know. They don't
And
know.
you know what sucks? I don't have my
It
banners in
looks great.
here.
I bought,
I wish I had my banners in here because the studio was acting up. I gotta re-download all of them. But there is a channel in my description called Unique Prepping. Follow him. You will learn this stuff. It's just a
yes,
great shout out to Zach
yes,
at Unique Prepping and all of his crew over there and his friends and the whole dang community. Actually, you know what? I have a link I can drop right in the chat right now. Give me 2 seconds while we're still chatting, and I will get it dropped into the chat. But, there are communities out there, but people don't look for them. People aren't aware these
Well,
things exist, and it's so much easier just to buy it
okay, but
pre-done.
one of the things that happens is you hear some people hear the word prepper or prepping, and they think that it's all about those people who are doomsday've got
Oh,
50,000 pounds
hardly.
of rice and no,
No,
there
that's
are
not us.
ways.
We're talking daily prep for daily meals, stuff you can use down the road, not going full out crazy, the world's ending zombie apocalypse thing. I am talking just
Although I can tell you how to build up
yeah,
because one of the things I am not a crazy prepper. I am not a crazy prepper.
but you live in an area where
However,
it's needed.
when can we say, oh, yeah, we're on Rumble. So when COVID hit, um, we never had a shortage in my house. We fed our household, we fed neighbors, we fed my parents because I am one of those people, having been on food stamps, having raised children, having gone through periods where you are making decisions between putting food on the table. I have a stockpile of food.
Yes,
And
I
it's
usually
not
did too.
I have never prepped myself into poverty. It is about adding a little bit each time. It's about learning how to preserve it. Speaking of, you know that I was supposed to have a dinner with my family, and I ended up with food
Yeah,
that I was like, what do I do with this? One of the things I had done is I had bought 2 pounds of mushrooms on clearance. So I paid 250 for 2 pounds. They were on
that's a
clearance.
good deal.
The plan was I was going to it was a really good deal. The plan was I was going to cook them up with for the steak for the people who eat mushrooms.
Mhm.
Well, then I was left with 2 pounds of mushrooms that were already on the edge of not being the greatest. I was like,
Yep.
"What do I do with these?" So what I did was I have a food dehydrator. I could have done it in my oven. Matter of fact, if I had not felt like digging out my dehydrator, I would have done this in the oven. Put
Of
your oven on
course.
170, put them on trays.
Yep,
I
like I do with
dehydrated them.
jerky.
I dehydrated them. Yeah. Yeah, I dehydrated them, and, I just did take them out of the dehydrator. I've got my trays in the sink so I can wash them. I will grind that up, and I will use that in gravies or to make cream of mushroom soup because literally at this point, because it's a powder, I can literally just add it to, a roux, so,
Yep,
butter and flour
and
cooked
it
out
flavors
and
whatever you're
make cream
having.
of mushroom soup. Yeah,
You can use it to
right.
flavor just
So
about
I can use
anything.
right, you can make gravy. So, gravy is literally just pan drippings and flour or cornstarch that you've cooked out, but to make a mushroom gravy, you just add, like, a tablespoon of this,
Yep.
right? So that is one of the things that I advocate for. I actually put this up on Unique Prepping. Um, I can't rem I think it was mushrooms that I posted in
His
how to
Discord server?
preserve. Yeah, or no, that may have been Jeannie's. I may have done that on Jeannie's when hers was still up because,
Well,
you the whole mushrooms, taking an egg slicer. I know it may have been on Zach's. I think it was on Zach's.
it could be both. I can go look. Believe it or not, I have access to his server.
Yeah,
I'm one of his mods and admins.
yeah.
Um, Let me see what we got under
I think
dehydrating,
I'm still in his
canning, gardening, general
server too.
prep
I just
info.
haven't.
Oh, how to do stitches. Someone was
Yeah,
teaching how
because
to do
that's
sutures. Um,
oh,
I'm
nice.
looking. I don't see it in this one to general prep. Um, it might be under gardening or dehydrating. Dehydrating has my jerky
I think it
stuff.
would probably be under
Oh, yep, it was under there. You showed how
I
to
think it would have
dehydrate
been under
mushrooms and basil. Oh, no, sage and mushrooms. Yep, you put it
sage.
up there on there, and that
Yes.
is you will find his Discord server in the link because I linked his link tree. So you don't gotta go fussing with all the
Yes.
different links. And I even put up videos on how to make venison jerky.
Rice.
So,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean,
folks, there are
that's
options.
so, like, I actually showed how to use an egg slicer to slice up so you're not, overworking it, you don't have to cut them all by hand, these are things that I think that would be beneficial to anybody, but especially somebody who's trying to stretch their food dollar,
Meals.
because
Yes.
instead of wasting the mushrooms, because I could have just been like, "Oh, well, they weren't the best to begin with, and
It
I
was
didn't get
only
them cooked, the
$2.
day that I thought." Right, but by dehydrating them, and again, this wasn't, like, hard work. This was literal, and I could, like I said, I could have done it in my oven. You do not need a dehydrator to dehydrate, you know?
Yep,
I'm going to still have use out of them. I'm still going to be able I'm not losing them.
yep,
And that's something that people need to know, especially because buying food on clearance, and that's something else people need to be well aware of. You can get food on clearance, and there are ways to preserve it so that you don't lose it,
yep,
and that also stretches your food dollar.
yep.
You know, canned foods, honestly, they're still eating K rations from World War II. They
Yeah,
do not go bad if they have
they
been
never
properly
go
canned.
bad.
They never go bad. So, when you see, those things in the clearance aisle, pick them up. If it's
Mhm.
something that you will legitimately use, pick it up. If you're going to and this is something else like, "Oh, they gave us food at the food bank, but it was canned this or that, and it was expired." "Bubba,
So
that shit
what?
doesn't expire."
It
Excuse my
does not.
language.
Yeah, it does not expire, and I've gone t oh my god, I battle my daughter on this because it's the same thing with spices. She gets so upset when she sees the expiration date. I'm like, "It's fine. Trust me, it's
Yes,
fine. It is
spices the the
preserved."
only the only thing that the only thing that happens with spices is some of them will lose their potency, so you have to use more of it.
Yeah, you
That's
break
it.
it up and you use
That's
it. Yeah, same with the boxed, hamburger helper. I don't care how long I've had
yes,
that even 2, 3 years expired, and it was still good because it's powdered
it's fine.
cheese. It's not gonna mold. Noodles, dried
And
flour, it's not molding.
it's not gonna mold, and, the way that they're packaged now, those are foil-lined packets. They will
Yes,
literally Hi, fizzy. They will literally be good forever.
exactly, and so this is where
Forever.
I hold to it that I'm not like, I don't look at expiration dates. I don't, unless it's something that I know, like, fresh meat. Obviously, expiration dates matter. But like peanut butter, that has a shelf life of what, 10, 15 years?
If it has not been opened, it has a
Yeah,
shelf life of forever. It doesn't go bad.
yeah,
As
it's
long as
another
it's
one.
not exposed to air, it will not go bad.
And peanut
Honey,
butter is so good
honey
for you.
lasts
Oh
literally
yeah.
thousands
Yes,
of
they found
years.
preserved honey
Oh,
from
it is.
Egypt, from the ancient Egyptian times that was still good. Yes, honey. I'm telling you
Yes,
guys, there are
honey does
so
not
many
go bad.
ways. Yes, there are so many ways that we can
Rice.
make this
Rice
work.
is another one, and
Yep.
every time I see rice in a clearance aisle, I buy it because rice does not if you properly store it, rice does not go bad
Rice and
ever.
lentils. You got me hooked on
Ever. Yeah,
lentils.
lentils. They're
Mhm.
versatile. They are so versatile.
Yep.
That
I
that is
know, like,
something
we
that
use here's
they're
like, we
full of
make
protein.
yeah, they're full of protein, and the thing is, like, I use, I've got a bag of lentils I need to use. I need to boil them really quick, but you can use those, like, and let's say you don't have rice, use them in a meatloaf. I've made meatloaves with
Absolutely.
rice, saltine crackers, mashed potato flakes. You can make a meatloaf with a ton of things in it. And it boosts what the proteins and
Oh, yeah,
the different nutrients
absolutely.
you need. There is no reason you can't make a meatloaf with these things, and your kids don't even know they're getting it. Like, your kids can't complain because they won't know what's in
And
there.
that's true. That's true. And one of the things that that I think people need to learn is substitutions. So,
Yes.
I personally have a problem. My body doesn't like to process rice. Now, I eat rice, my body just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But okay, so if I have no rice, but I need a filler. You know that you can take any noodle that you have
Yep. Break it
and
down.
you can break it down and it becomes a filler. You know,
Yes.
you don't have to just use breadcrumbs or rice or there are be creative.
Get very
That
creative.
is and you'd be surprised, I have I have looked literally like this the other day I wanted to make chili. We got it's like -3 here right now. So it's like really cold.
Yeah.
And I had the hamburger and I thought I had tomato paste. I did not have tomato paste. So I walked over and I looked in my pantry and I'm like, what have I got? You know what I had? I had a can of tomato soup.
Thicken it.
You know, tomato soup's a little sweet for chili. That's fine. It is a little sweet. You know how you fix that? I added some vinegar
Oh,
because
yeah.
literally the triangle is salt, vinegar or acid and sugar. If it's too sweet, you add an acid. I used white vinegar because that's what I have on hand. I could have used lemon juice. I could have used lime juice. I could have, any acid would have worked.
Yeah.
Turned out fine.
Yep. I know I've I've known people, they
Matter of
could
fact, my
not
husband
find
took
tomato
leftovers with him the
sauce.
next day. It was
Well, there was someone I know, he got in the habit of making his chili with V8 juice as, instead of tomato sauce and just
yeah,
thickens it. And now, not my favorite go-to. It's not my favorite way to
yes,
make chili, but
I've
if
done that.
you're hungry, guess what? You'll eat it. I think it's
Well, and if you add some acid to that,
Oh, go ahead.
because I have the problem with the nightshade family, so I have to watch anything that has tomato in it. One of the reasons that I cook my own food is because the longer you cook the nightshade foods, the less likely you are to react to it. But I use the vegetable juice, the V8 type, the generic, to make say my vegetable soups.
Yeah.
Most people make it with a tomato base. I make it with but if you add acid, it takes away because the carrot juice in it makes it sweet. You can control that. You can
Mhm.
amp up the tomato taste by and those are just tricks, using what's available. But it is actually a good thing if you can use the vegetable juice because then you're getting like the beta carotene from the carrots. You are getting the zinc from the broccoli that they have added, y- kale. These are things instead of just tomatoes, which tomato is a fruit.
Yeah. And it's again,
So
people
yes,
have lost the old ways of cooking because of the convenience of a grocery store. And this is where, like I've
which
even said,
I'm all about
you can
convenience.
well, the convenience is fine, but you can buy the cheapest stuff on the market. You can buy that 25-cent can of tuna and turn it into a really good tasting meal if you know how to cook it right. It's not actually as hard. It's
Oh,
people don't wanna necessarily go through the process of doing it.
I absolutely hate tuna because back when we were on food stamps, back when we had no money, one of our go-tos was tuna casserole. So you take,
Yep,
a can of tuna, you take the cheapest noodles. We used to go to Aldi's and get the cheapest tuna, and at that
yep,
time, I think they were like 50 cents a bag. Actually, I think they're only like $1 a bag now.
yeah,
Um, you get the off-brand cream of so cream of chicken, cream of celery, cream of whatever is cheap that week, and, canned peas or, whatever,
yep,
and that's you literally put that in the oven. and it is a good solid, it's got a protein, it's got a starch, it's got a vegetable, it's a good meal. But it was one that we ate so often
Mhm.
that now somebody says tuna, and I'm like, "I'll pass."
Yeah.
"Oh, it's ahi-ahi tuna." I don't care. It's
Well,
tuna.
oh,
I'll
here's what a
pass.
lot of people don't realize too. Good old-fashioned goulash was a throw together from the Great Depression era, and even before then in Europe, through the,
Yeah.
oh god, I can't remember the region. It was the Bavarian type regions where it was in the Bohemian regions, of Europe,
Mhm,
where you
Bohemia.
just throw together leftover meat, leftover vegetables, some noodles, whatever tomato product you have, and boom, there's dinner. Add some seasoning. That's
I
something we
get
still
so
do.
tickled. Uh, there is Yeah, we do too. There is a dish, and I wanna say it's called takoyaki? Anyway, it's basically eggs, cabbage, and whatever the hell you've got laying around. It's a I wanna say Japanese dish, and it's highly sought after. People go to restaurants and pay for it. It's a street food over there.
Like chop
My
suey.
grandmother used to make that. Yes, and she actually called it chops that's what she called it, was chop suey, and it was basically just whatever you had left over,
You threw
you know,
together.
if you
Yep.
had cabbage left over, yeah, you threw it together and you cooked it, and it's like, yeah, okay, why are people not but now there are, like, actual recipes, and people are like, "Oh, you've got to use this type of daikon
No,
radish,
you
and you've got"
don't.
and it's like, "No, do you know where this came from?"
This comes from a poor,
This came
middle of
from this
nowhere
is what w
village that needed food, and guess what they did? They made it work. Well, and you know, it's the same thing with those cup of ramens.
yeah, yeah, this yeah, yeah. Oh, did you see the ramen, I think I bought him I've got a whole tote of them. Let me see if I can find the picture, and I will
Drop it in the
oh, I
DMs.
won't be able to do it here, damn. Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
When we're done.
um, yeah, yeah. They were on clearance, Big Lots going out of business.
Mhm.
And so we literally went in because my husband carries those to work.
Yeah.
And I went in and I think we paid like a quarter a piece for 'em. I think they were marked 50 cents and they were 50% off that, so I paid like a quarter a piece for them.
Yeah, stockpile.
It was yeah,
That's something
yeah,
you gotta
literally.
stockpile.
L
Oh, I think there's some lag, and it's causing me to
because they
overtalk you.
it's alright. It's alright. But yeah, it's like these are the things that people need to pay attention to, and I'm not talking about just people on food stamps. I'm talking about people in general. Just need to do this,
Uh-huh.
you
It's
know.
what we buy canned chicken all the time, and we will just do buttered noodles, parmesan, a little bit of parsley, throw some chicken in it with some salt and pepper, and boom, there's dinner. It's not gonna kill you, and it's got what you need.
Yeah, absolutely,
A
absolutely.
and this is, again, stuff that
I, I
people don't think about, and they're like, "Oh, I'm on food stamps, I can get what I want." Well, yeah, that's nice, but let's stretch it out a little bit more for you. Let's make it last. Get yourself a deep freezer and fill it with extra meat. Like, what we used to do is 1 month we would buy all meats, bulk everything we would need. The next we would get the vegetables, and we would keep the cycle going, and again, we would use just enough meats, and we would, of course, get a few vegetables out of cash here and there because 'cause they're cheap enough, or whatever we could from a church, and, then, and just to get through that first month, and then we'd have an extra stockpile of meat. We'd have like 2 months worth of meat, And then we would get loaded up on vegetables, make sure they were frozen or hell, buy frozen vegetables. Those are usually around $1 to $2 a bag. You can buy pre-frozen
Yeah.
vegetables if you don't want to go with canned or something or fresh because it might go bad. You can do that and then buy shelf stable foods. And I literally had those old, the, like, kinda like the shelving you would find in a store. Somebody had thrown it out, and we
Yeah.
grabbed it, and we put it up in our
Oh,
basement,
yeah.
so we had a storeroom in the basement with easily a couple $1,000 worth of food and this was when I was not on food stamps, by the way. I was pulling cash and getting food as cheap as I could and stockpiling it because, again, this was before COVID, but I lived in Michigan. And guess what winters are like? They're not fun up
I
there
know what winters are
sometimes.
like up
Yeah,
there.
you
Yeah.
may not be able to get to a grocery store. So there's nothing wrong with having a stockpile. I was buying bulk toilet paper before COVID. So when COVID hit, I didn't have to worry. I
Oh,
buy
yeah.
hand
My
soaps and stuff in bulk for a
my
reason.
uncle was stationed
Oh, go ahead.
my uncle was, stationed in the UP, so, yeah, I know exactly what winters are like.
Yeah, that's a 6 foot of
Yeah.
snow in a season. And it's like, huh? Yeah. There's a lot of
Yeah.
reasons to stockpile food. Remember when the whole Northeast had that massive blackout from New York to Michigan?
Yeah.
The whole Northeast
Yeah.
got blackout in the middle of summer, and what did everybody do? They had to figure it out. Your freezers don't work, your fridges don't work. Well, shelf-stable items and a grill. You can fry eggs on an open fire. You can make hamburger helper on an open fire. You just
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
get
absolutely.
you don't gotta eat takeout and
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that. You can just make it
What
on
one
an open grill.
one of the things that my family does, and we do it because we want to, not because we have to, in the fall of the year, we do a lot of outdoor cooking. So over an open fire, we have our cast iron. We will make ham and beans. We will make chowder. We will make it's just a lot of things, and we do it because we want to. But, while you're out there doing stuff anyway, you put the potatoes in the coals. You know,
Yeah. Wrap
they
them in,
they cook.
aluminum
You know,
foil.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
know, like,
absolutely.
even if you have
But
a working fireplace in your house, you can use it to cook. You know that, right? It'll save on
we
your gas
have,
and electric bill.
yeah, we have done it over open fire, and then when my parents put in the Ember hearth, we used to cook on the flat,
Yep.
because, eh, winters when where mom and dad are, sometimes the electricity it's REMC, so anybody who has ever lived in the country knows that rural electric is not the most reliable when the wind is blowing.
Yep.
You may not have electricity. So, you do learn to adapt. We cooked on the Ember hearth many, many, many times, that's actually one of the easiest ways, because not just okay, so think like an old kitchen stove, right? I've cooked on those too, but because it heats not just the top, but also the sides, you can actually like wrap something in foil and put it next to right up against the side, and it will cook it, slow cook it right next to the firebox. We've done that. You just
Are you doing a podcast thing?
now you were talking about how you
I thought it was
bought
that.
things in cycles. I wish that better quality food was cheaper because I'm gonna tell you
Uh-huh.
right now that I tend to shop the outside because I can afford it. But there are things that are still it's like, why am I paying this price for it? You know? And oh my God, people, if you hear nothing else that I say, ignore the word organic. When it
Oh,
comes
for the
to
love of
fruits and
God,
vegetables,
please
ignore it.
ignore organic. Yes. Oh my God. You're
You are
paying more
paying
for
a
nothing.
premium for a word that means nothing. The word means nothing. It is not regulated. It is not controlled. It does not mean anything. "Oh, it means they didn't put pesticides on this one." No, but let me tell you that in the field next to it, they were spraying pesticides, and there's such a thing as drift. Your food is still getting the same. It's you're paying money for nothing.
Yep.
Don't play that game.
And here's the thing, like, people are noticing, like, when they buy blueberries or strawberries from the store, it stains the plates and stuff red and blue and the fingers. You used to not get that unless you were eating by the handfuls. Like 3 or 4 blueberries on your tray should not be turning your plate a different color. That means they're dyeing the frickin' fruit.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. Grow your own strawberries. It is so easy. Actually, the hardest thing about doing strawberries is keeping them contained. They go everywhere. Like
Yeah.
shit. They go everywhere. Once you get them in the
Oh,
ground, because I've
yes.
tried growing them in pots, it doesn't work. I cannot get them to work right. But when you put them in the ground, good luck containing them. That's the hardest part. So, get yourself some strawberries,
Yeah, no,
plant them
they
in a
they s
spot,
they
and
send out
let them go.
suckers, and that's something else. There are entire groups of food that people have never heard of that they could be alright, sunchokes, right? They have kind of a nutty, they're a tuber, they grow in the ground. You do need to contain them because they will take over, but they come back every single year. You can't get rid of them, but they're
Yeah.
food, right? So, this is something
Well, and it's the same
people have
thing with,
never heard of. What's a sunchoke? Okay.
yeah. Sunchokes are, one that'll come back every year. A lot of people don't realize you don't have to destroy your pepper plants and your tomato plants. You can uproot them, bring them in for the winter, and then replant them in the summer. Trim them back, and they will be fine. You can use them more than 1 year.
It's something else that you can do is if you have a dedicated spot where you're growing your tomato plants. Now, I don't know if your family did this, but we used to do an end of the summer uh, vegetable soup, right? So whatever
Yeah,
was left in the garden got pulled out. My grandmother used to take the last tomato and she would uproot the plant and she would plant the tomato in that hole covered over. In the spring, she would get volunteer tomatoes, and she would just thin them out.
yeah,
That works.
yeah. And
I
again, you
it's
can
not
do so much with this stuff. And you know what people also tend to forget? Hey, Arby, um, the people forget that cucumbers are one of the best snacks you can have just on their own. You can make cucumber sandwiches, you can make cucumber just sliced cucumber with
You
some
can make
salt on it.
pickles.
You can turn them into pickles, you can turn them
uh,
into
y
all kinds of things. Like,
yeah,
cucumbers are so versatile, you don't just have them as in a salad. I will tell you, I will make up some mayo, salt and pepper it, maybe a little extra seasonings, add some cayenne or whatever tastes good, pop it some cucumber slices in it, and put it on a piece of bread. Like, seriously, or
uh,
spread the seasoned mayo on the bread and then layer the cucumbers on it. For the love of God, it is good.
That's your personal biases. My
back in
mother.
the '80s, there used to be, it was an hors d'oeuvre, I guess, and it was literally cucumber slices with mayonnaise and Lowry's seasoned salt. You would do that a couple
Ooh.
hours before guests showed up, you know, it it's delicious. It's delicious. Something else you can do with cucumbers that most people do not know, you can make jelly. Did you know that?
Oh,
Take the
yes.
seeds out. Is You can literally make cucumber jelly. Yeah.
Yes. There is, like, again, if you are on food stamps or you're on a budget, this is an episode you should watch and send to people you know. Because, again, if you guys need more, I have no problem putting together how-to videos. I've done it before, I can do it again, I have some on my server, I have some on Zach's server. Honestly, if you really want some how to do this stuff, join Unique Prepping's Discord server, there are lots of how-to videos there. There are lots of people in the community that if you go in there, you ask a question, you're going to have answers very quickly. Watch his videos, because he will show you about growing potatoes. And I didn't get a chance. I forgot to give him the tip about how to grow potatoes properly. Okay, you can just throw potatoes in the ground and then harvest them at the end of the year, but you're not going to get very big potatoes. You can take potatoes you bought from the store. If they've got eyes growing on them, you can replant them and grow your own potatoes. Now, what I like to do with this is I will leave them in the ground. I'll plant a bunch. I'll pull some half of them in for the year and leave the other half to keep growing. And so the next picking harvest season, I grab those ones. Well, I've already planted more to take over, so I alternate years so the potatoes have time to actually grow and get bigger. Because you're not going to get very big potatoes if you plant them and then a few months later you pick them. So always leave half for the
Okay.
next year. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. Actually, there's an easier way to ensure big potatoes. First of all, you need to know if they are determinate or indeterminate because there's a difference. Determinate will only put out one layer of potatoes. Indeterminate are the ones that where you will get multiple groups.
Mhm.
Um, when you plant your potatoes, look at your eyes. You don't want more than 2 eyes on any section that you put in the ground on a potato, because what you're doing is you look at your seed potato, the one that you're cutting.
Uh-huh.
If you need to, cut out a couple of the eyes, because when you do the ones that has multiple eyes, more
Mhm.
than 2 per piece that you're putting in the ground, your potatoes will be smaller.
Okay.
It takes too much energy. So when you're cutting your potato to put it in the ground, your seed potato, make sure that not more than 2 eyes per section per piece that you're putting in the
And this
ground
is supposed to be like
has
a
yeah,
half
is
inch
there.
cube. Like a half inch cube is pretty good, isn't it?
A little bit bigger than that.
Okay.
You want it to be you want the section to be about 2 inches. So, like, if
Okay,
you were
2
to go
inches.
buy seed potatoes, it would be the potato size would be the new potato size, so 2 inches. So you want the section to be 2 inches. That gives enough sugar starch to start your rooting,
Okay.
right?
I
But
learned
you wanna make
something
sure that
new.
there's not more than 2. Yeah, you don't want more than 2 eyes sprouting on each one, because it takes too much energy and you will end up with small potatoes. But again, it's about knowing, because people are like, "Oh, you have to mound it. That's why you only got 1 layer of potatoes." No, that's a determinate species. That's all they put out. You have to know a little bit about the potato that you're putting in the ground, whether or not you want to hill it. If it is an indeterminate, then you do absolutely want to hill it, because then you will get layers of potatoes.
And see, I've also done potatoes in like a 55-gallon drum, old Rubbermaid totes. You
Yeah.
can grow them in even buy
Oh,
a fresh
absolutely.
trash can, one of the outdoor trash cans from Walmart, and you can fill it. Don't really fill it a lot with dirt, just about a third of the way, because you got to keep adding dirt as the plant part grows up. You got to keep packing a few inches of dirt on it.
That's
So get those.
That's what I was just talking about. That depends on whether the potato is determinate or indeterminate,
Yeah,
because not all potatoes will grow layers like that. Not
yeah.
all of them have to be, hilled. But you're right, you can grow it in, old totes. You can actually use trash bags if you have, like, okay, so take a, tomato cage. You can
Uh huh.
actually grow them in a tomato cage if you line that with, I wouldn't recommend, like, a thin trash bag, but a trash bag,
Like one of the outdoor
or
durable
if you
ones?
have leftover. Yeah, or if you have, the garden, weed
Oh, that
barrier, if you have some of that
yeah.
left,
Or would a moisture
yeah,
barrier
you can grow
work
them.
from, like, how roofing? A moisture barrier?
Yes, as long as you make sure that there is some way for the water to drain out, because
Yeah, poke
you
holes
don't
in it.
wanna get, root rot.
Yeah.
Right. But yes, absolutely, that would work. There are ways to do this, and you do not have to do it on your hands and knees. You can elevate this. You can, like you said, put it in trash cans, use old tires mounted because you can pull those off and then, get to it that way. It, there are so many ways,
I used to
so
only
many
do
ways.
elevated where all my planters were on tables and stuff. I did not do in the ground because of my back. I used to
Mhm.
have a bunch of folding tables and I would put boards on sawhorses and stuff, and I'd put my stuff up on those on the edge of my porch, and then I'd go on the ground and weed and do whatever I got to do from ground level because the porch was at knee level. I don't have to bend.
Right. One of the trends the last few years that truly tickles me is they're doing, ornamental lettuces and, like, chives, because they're pretty. Like, these lettuces are green and purple and, or cabbages that are like Savoy, so you
Oh,
get
I love doing okay, go I'll let you finish and I'll tell you what I do also with this
okay,
stuff.
but people are buying these and they don't realize that's also an edible plant, right? So yeah, it looks beautiful. Did you know you can go out and pull leaves off of it and eat it? Chives are beautiful. These ornamental lettuces and cabbages, and it's all
Wild
edible. People
lettuce.
find
Yes.
it. Yeah,
And one of the things like I used to do is okay, and let's say you need chives, green onions, right? Guess what that is? To take the root of the onion that you cut off that has the little dangly roots, you can sometimes bring them back to life and you keep them in water for a few days or and it will start sprouting chives. You can do this with garlic. Garlic sprouts are really good to
that's
eat.
not chives.
It's chives are different, but you can still
Those aren't
use the
those
green
aren't
onion. No,
chives.
the green onion part, the
Yeah,
greens of the
that's
onion.
spring onion. Yes,
Spring onion.
absolutely. Yeah,
You can use
absolutely.
that, and
Spring onion.
also, celery
Yes.
leaves are very edible. You do not have to throw the leaves
Yes.
away. I will
Absolutely.
take the base of the celery that we've cut off. I will put some toothpicks in it, put it in some water so it'll start sprouting, and then I'll put it in dirt and I
Yep.
will just because it won't reproduce the full celery stalks, but you will get plenty of leaves. And you can dry those and
Oh,
use them.
absolutely, and
It's something I
yep.
have done many times.
One of the things that I love is, I love spinach, right? So fresh spinach, I do not like cooked spinach, it's slimy, but I love fresh spinach. So this time of year, I well, yeah, this time because you can do it in snow. You literally take a handful if you've already, like last fall, you've already prepared a place, you've got the dirt halfway weeded, whatever. Literally, you go out and you throw a handful of spinach seeds in the snow, and in about 6 weeks, you will have spinach. It's that easy.
Really? I did not
Yes,
know
ma'am.
that.
Yeah.
I've always
Yes.
spinach is one I've always never grown. I've tend to just, that one I'll buy in a store. I don't know, maybe I thought the climate was wrong or I wasn't really paying close attention or whatever. I've never really messed with it. Or cabbage. The one time I started to grow rhubarb, the dog decided it was a good place to lay down. So, I haven't grown rhubarb since. But there's there's a lot of ways that you can do this. Cabbages are very easy to grow. My dad used to grow them all the time. And I know that it like lettuce and stuff, that base, if it's got some roots coming from it that are still good or viable, you can continue growing off of that, if I'm not mistaken. But I might be wrong. But I've never been good at growing some plants from seeds. Seeds are a little bit more difficult. I know I'm trying to get RB up here too.
They ca yeah. They can be more difficult. Um, and a lot of the times, the problems that people have with seeds is they don't know how to harden it off when they're moving it from inside to outside, and that can be a pain if you don't know what you're doing because you take it outside and suddenly your plants are like, "Holy crap," and they just kinda keel over on you. It's like, "Oh, sorry.
Well, that's
I
why
just wasted, 4 weeks growing up a baby."
And that is one of the problems I've had too. They'll last for a few weeks outside, but then they start to wither. But that's just mainly you're not watering properly, or you need to add just a little bit of fertilizer, just a teeny bit. It'll help out. Also, depending on your soil and the temperatures. That's another thing. If
Yeah.
it's too cold and it's not
Yes.
used to the house, it could have a setback. People often think that
That's
plants are dead, but it's actually a setback.
And that's what I was saying about hardening them off. So, you have to first, like, you take them out and you have to put them in under plastic to keep them warm, and then you open the plastic for, a couple of hours the next day, and it's just hardening to get them used to being outside. They've been inside, they don't know any better, and if you just take them out, they're gonna die, or at least they're going to die back. So, yeah, you
Yeah,
you have to harden them off, and it's not like it's a difficult process, but if you don't know about it, then you think you've just wasted your time.
yeah. And that's again like I have tomato plants in here. They haven't been watered in a while. The roots might be dead, but I'm gonna give it a try in the spring, see if they're good before I go and buy new ones. Couple more weeks. I'm gonna go ahead and cut some of it back and check the roots, check the water. They're probably dead. I honestly, because nobody likes to listen to me in this house. But
Uh, I
yeah.
I, I'm sorry, that actually made me think of something that people need
Mhm.
to know, and that is, seed libraries. Check your local library. Often they will have what's called a seed library where you
Yep.
can go and get seeds for vegetables and,
We do
things
this.
that you can put in the ground and grow.
We have flower seeds and we have vegetable seeds from last year that I stored, and, we're going to be planting them this year. No one brought in my pepper plant, so we're gonna see if that sucker survived, um, because that was outside. I didn't pick anything from it because the first year, it's usually garbage when you plant them. Second year, you tend to get the better
Mm.
harvest off of it, so hopefully it survived. It probably would have if we hadn't gotten the sub-zero temperatures. But, like, our libraries around here do provide seed libraries for flowers and fruits and, vegetables, not fruits. So, yes, local library, if you have a library card, I think it's once a month, you can pick some seeds, and, towards the end of the year, they'll just kinda give you handfuls of packets, when from the leftovers. But most definitely. Um, I want steak seeds. You mean steak tomatoes? Beef steak tomatoes? Yeah, we can
Yeah,
get you beef steak tomatoes.
yeah.
Hey, oh, D.
Yeah,
Hi.
I'm actually looking for
Why can't we hear D?
He is
Hello?
EF. You're
There you are. Hi, D.
Hey,
How
there you are.
how you doing, Faye?
Pretty good. Okay, so I just looked up, Indianapolis Library because uh, the seed library up there, I could have checked my local one, but this is you can get 1 packet of each of these things, and, I mean, there are flowers, yeah, and that's something else people need to know. There are flowers you can eat. That's something that a lot of people don't know. But, okay, so, like, they have butternut squash. They have 4 o'clocks. They have green beans. They have romaine lettuce, Mexican sunflower, okra, oregano, Swiss chard, tomatillo, turnips, basil,
Oh, D, your dog's barking. It's I
basil
hear him.
Thai, cilantro, dill, garlic chive, Mexican mint marigolds, bush green beans, leaf lettuce, kale, snow peas, jalapeno peppers, sweet bell peppers, pumpkins, radishes, spinach, cherry tomatoes, slicing tomatoes, zucchini, and you can get 1 package of each of those.
Now, you and I have talked
And they don't cost
about
anything because
the
you're getting them from the
coxcombs.
library.
Those coxcombs that we got really cheap up at Walmart. Those are
Yes.
the equivalent of eating spinach, by the way. It's just very colorful
Yes, those are
spinach.
edible.
in
Um,
terms of
Yeah.
the ones that your dad likes to buy. He thinks they're just pretty and I wanna eat 'em. Um,
the red ones.
the purple, yellow, orange colored flowers that your dad likes to buy. I know that um I'm not sure when Dee's probably trying to get the dog to be quiet, but she's welcome to chime in too. Um there's because I know she's got her own chickens that she's been raising. And I'd like to get her on how to buy a chicken and raise a chicken for cheap or cheapish, and how much better the eggs are versus the store bought. But
You
no,
can,
there's D.
Oh,
yeah, you can
absolutely.
actually go to Tractor Supplies where we bought ours. Uh, so you should be able to get a discount. And we picked out the eggs that we wanted. Then we brought them in the house, incubated them, and they hatched. And we took the shed and converted that into the chicken coop. And EJ fortified that like nobody's going to get in. You would think it was Fort Knox. Uh, against, since we're in the country, we didn't want anything to get them. So he built a big outdoor enclosure for them. And the first time, I had never had a raised uh, egg from a chicken. I mean, well, I had, but not that.
Yeah, a
that
free
did
one
that. Yeah,
from
that
your own
didn't come out.
grow,
Yeah, that didn't come out right.
unprocessed.
Yes, unprocessed, and one that we had raised. And when I first had that, I thought I was in heaven. I was like, oh, I could not believe the difference in the texture, the creaminess of the yolk, how much healthier it was. And then that led me to go do some research, which I don't have, but you can do it with how long the United States permits our egg production to sit in crates for months till it actually hits your store shelf. And there's a whole science they have behind it. It's absolutely ridiculous, compared to, now, not everybody can raise a chicken, but you need to check your local ordinance what you have. So we started out, I think, with 20, and we're down to 17. The problem is, after 3 or 4 years, their egg laying production decreases significantly. At first, we had so many eggs, we didn't know what to do with it. I mean, they were coming out the wazoo. We gave them to family. We sold them to different people. That's how my grandson made money. Uh, and so now we're on the decline. So there's not that much egg production. So then the decision is, what are you going to do with the chickens?
Eat
They
them.
intend, yeah, these ones that they got, they said were not good for eating, but the dogs could obviously eat them.
Yeah,
Uh,
save on dog food.
exactly. And Mr. Big Game Hunter feels a little bit differently. They deliberately did not name them,
Of course.
turn them into pets or anything like that, because of you didn't want to establish a bond, and then when you had to do what you had to do, you didn't want to have to do it. Uh, so that's where we're at right now. And the problem is, once you get a flock, it can be done, but it's a little bit difficult to introduce new hens into the flock. They tend to pick on them, and so what we're thinking of doing is actually creating a second, smaller pen with maybe
For a
4 to
second
6.
flock.
Yeah, and maybe have like anywhere from 4 to 8 chickens down at my end. The
Okay.
other thing they're good for too is tick and flea prevention. Uh,
Mhm.
some people let them free range. Like my neighbor lets his free range. He doesn't have any left because the hawks and the raccoons and the coyote and the foxes have got just
Yeah, you're in
decimated.
an area where it's not wise to free
Right,
range chickens.
exactly. And I look out the window and I see a chicken on the hillside, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Uh, but I do have a friend who has, oh, I'm going to say she has like 70 to 80 chickens that free range. And do you know there is no coop for them? At
Mhm.
nighttime, they all come and huddle underneath a tree. and I just find that fascinating.
And
But
but what's hard is finding the eggs
yeah,
because God knows
yeah,
where they're at.
that's really that's Easter egg hunting at its finest every day, right?
Yes. That's
But
what kids are for.
yeah,
But, like, I've helped out on chicken farms and stuff, and you gotta be careful, but, like, if you're gonna have your chickens free range, get a rooster or
mm-hmm,
get a goose to help protect them.
right. And so
Goose.
goose, you think, huh?
Yep,
The
get a
other
Yep.
goose.
the other thing is, and I can't remember who does what, but the chickens, I believe, are good on, yeah, chickens are good on fleas. Quails are supposed to be good on the ticks. So I wanted to get 2 quail in. I'd also really like to have a couple turkey, to be honest. But
Uh-huh.
uh,
Turkeys are mean, just
yes,
so you
I've
know.
heard that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Turkeys are so what kind of chickens do you have?
I don't know, white
Okay.
one. I'll have to find out. That will be up for a follow up. I don't remember the name of them. Uh they just went. In fact, uh, Eric and Jake were up at Tractor Supply. They're waiting because, just so you know, if you're interested in doing this, there's supposed to be like a huge rush on anybody that's selling eggs. So it's going to be, as
First
soon as yeah,
sellers first
uh huh,
for
yep,
farmers second.
uh huh. So it's going to be crazy. Back in the days when you fought over toys, it's going to be fighting over chicken eggs.
Now
All
Um,
the
right. So
next Oh, go ahead, Faye,
But
I'm
they
sorry.
they sell all different types of Tractor Supply. All different. Uh, I almost said brands and models, makes, models, and
No, breeds.
yeah, breeds.
breeds,
Yeah,
different
here we
breeds.
go. Yeah,
Remind me again where you live.
I'm in the rural end of the township. I'm about 60 miles outside of Pittsburgh, so
What?
I'm considered
Okay.
green state.
Okay. So, I'm going to give you a piece of advice.
Okay.
Get the hell out of Tractor Farm Supply
Yeah.
and go to your local Amish and get fertilized eggs from them.
Okay. Okay.
You should be able to you should be able to because first of all, they're going to be a better breed.
Okay.
They're going to probably be cheaper, and they've probably got a hatchery that you can buy from.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because they're going to be these chickens are going to have been bred in your area. They're
Right.
going to be more resistant to anything that's in your area, including the weather, as opposed to buying them from a commercial place like Tractor Farm Supply, where they're buying them from a hatchery that may be in Montana
Okay. That's a good idea.
or,
All right.
Utah or
Right.
Florida. So, yeah, so especially since you're in an area where you know that there are Amish, because that's
Correct.
what I would do here. Is I actually buy my eggs from the Amish. Um, if I were going to start growing my own chickens, that's what I would do is I would buy from them.
Okay.
Now, the
So look
next
into that.
question I have is
I
how
will
much
definitely.
I know that you can create your own chicken feed, but
Mhm.
if you're not in a place to do that to start, how much is it usually for chicken
It,
feed?
it's expensive. I'm not gonna lie. A bag, and it's increased. And there was also, and we would have to go back and do some little bit of digging. I want to say it was Purina, but there were several uh, feeds that were identified as being bad for the chickens. There was something wrong with it, and they were also sold off label, so you had to go look and see who the manufacturer was. And everybody,
Mm.
all the writings were like, "Stay away from this feed." Feed is up to $53 a bag.
Now, I know you can make your own feed.
Right
We did some research into that for
on that.
you.
Right. Correct.
And I think that may end up being cheaper in the long run for
Yeah.
people is to make their own.
Well, and the thing with that is, but if you're working, a full time job, and is he really going to have time with, the new baby and, all of that? It's just easier and cheaper to buy a
Well,
bag.
we're
But
talking
the
for
other,
people who are trying
yeah,
to make their
dollar stretch. The other thing too is save, we gave them all of our kitchen scraps, strawberries, cucumbers, I mean, any lettuce, anything. We gave them frozen ice cubes. I mean, they just were, happy as that was Eric's job every morning to go up there. And when he started walking up the middle of the yard, they came running for him. So they do, they do know who you are. Uh,
Yeah, they do. One of the nice things is because chickens are omnivores, you can literally feed them almost almost
anything.
any
Right.
scraps that you have. And they
Hmm.
will eat meats, they will eat grains, they will eat vegetables, which that helps, right? Of course, you feed the shells back to them to increase
Hmm.
their calcium, which that helps. Yeah, it's just
Mhm. I don't know why my camera decided to cut out, but I'm still here, just so you guys know.
there
I don't
you
know what's
are.
that
I thought
my
maybe I was actually checking to see if you had gotten kicked because,
no,
that happens.
there's something wrong with my camera for some stupid reason. It won't show my picture. When it decides to work again, I'll be back up there. In the meantime, it's all you, Faye.
Hi. Yeah.
Um, but that's why, like, again, it's I know it's something that's not covered on food stamps is buying your own chickens. But if you're in an area where you can do this, and there are some cities that will allow you to have your own chickens in the city. So double check your city rules and ordinance stuff and all that. And there is a high probability you're going to be able to have your own chickens and your own eggs. And you can feed them, like we were saying, with scraps.
Oh, well, and barring that, check and see in your cities, check and see when they have the days where you can get double uh I I wanna say credit. Credit's not the word I'm looking for here. So, like, you spend $1 to get $2 worth of food at the farmers markets, and if you have access to those things, there are times when you can go there and it's like you're getting it for half the price that's marked
So
because
it's like
these
a
farmers
50% off day for food stamp users.
Yeah, for food stamp users. Um, if you find out in your area when those are happening and where those farmers markets are so that you can go and get a big mess of green beans or, onions or whatever is
Yeah.
growing.
And now, I've grown okra, and it's a limited vegetable, but I will tell you what, that grows good in sandy and somewhat clay soil. Mine hit 6 foot tall easily, my okra plants, and they were producing like nuts, and I grew them from seed. Oh, I'm back. And so,
There you are.
okra is very easy to grow. If you like your gumbos and jambalayas and stuff, you can throw some okra in those, and they're so darn easy to grow. I mean, my mom, is notorious for killing my plants. When she was living with me, this woman could kill a plastic palm tree, and, but, I grew okra, and I told her, "Do not touch them." And she was not allowed to water them. She was not allowed to go anywhere near them, and they hit damn near 6 foot tall. And it was just so nice to have fresh okra to throw into things. And when you're growing your fresh plants, I wanted to cover this before Dee gets back and we go back to chickens and stuff. Set seeds aside from your plants. Set quite a few of your seeds aside, air dry them for a little bit, put them in some paper towel, and then put them in like a Ziploc bag in a cool, dry spot. I sometimes keep them in the fridge because that will help them germinate come spring, because they're used to being in cold for the winter, and come spring they'll germinate faster. And that's one thing I've learned. Save your damn seeds. Save your tomato seeds, save your cucumber seeds, save your watermelon seeds, whatever seeds you have, save them. Even if you buy a watermelon from the store, save the seeds. um that's just the one thing I can honestly say is save all your seeds. I'm telling you. Sorry, but oh, Dee's back. Hi, Dee.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I figured while we had that, I would talk about how to preserve seeds from what you
Yeah,
have.
we're good.
I don't know if Faye, if you wanted to add anything to preserving seeds from what you got. Oh,
One of the
I thought
things
you were
I
going
would
out.
say is there you can save seeds from so, um, I am considering I want to put white peaches in my backyard. So I have saved, seeds from at least 3 varieties of white peaches, and that's because I know that I have to have at least 2 different varieties in order for them to fertilize.
Mhm.
But literally, you to do this, if you wanna save some and that's do a little research on the type of seeds that you're saving because they're going to do better in different ways. If you're saving tomato seeds, make sure you wash off that gelatin type,
Yeah,
yeah, otherwise they're not gonna store right, and
same
they're
with the
not
green
gonna they're
beans.
right. You know, in the case of peaches, like I said, I wanna grow peach trees. Literally, when you get those and you break them out of that center pit to get the actual, seed,
Yeah.
that has to be stored in the freezer for at least 3 months,
Okay, I've
right?
never done fruit plants. I've only done vegetables, so that's surprising.
Yeah,
Why is that
yeah.
say?
They have to be, kept in extremely cold for a dormancy period before they will, germinate.
Okay, that's interesting.
S Yeah.
That explains why all the cherry plants I tried to grow didn't work, the cherry trees.
That makes sense. It one
I
other
did it
thing
wrong.
that
I just threw them in the ground and they never took off.
I assume
That was when I was a kid.
well, we'll cut you some slack for that.
I know,
One
Faye, you
other
were gonna
thing.
say something, but I think that was a lag that cut it off.
okay, no, all I was gonna say is I assume that it having to be stored, below freezing has to do with, mimicking the natural cycles for the fruit trees, the fruit type things. I assume
Okay.
that's why it has to happen in order for the seed to germinate.
That makes sense. And that's kinda like what I do with my seeds. Like, obviously, I clean them, put them in the paper towel, let them air dry for a little bit so they're, not going in moist to mold. And, that's when I pop them in a fresh paper towel in a Ziploc bag, and I just leave them in the fridge because it does mimic that cold cycle through the winter that seeds would normally go through. And then when I bring them out and start putting them in the soil to germinate, I moisten them a little bit and then put them in the soil. It tends to work better. Faye, you're posting in the private chat. You got to change it to all.
Y Yeah, I wanted to ask you
Oh, to pull it
if
up.
I can do that. This is yeah, this is
I'm sorry.
the
I'm trying to.
website for the it's called Double Up Days, that's what it's called. I finally
Yeah, you
Double
can
Up
post that.
Food Bucks.
If you can get it to all, go ahead and post it. D, you're also posting in private.
Oh, I was
Okay,
replying to Arby.
Oh, yeah. Well, he can't see it because he's not in here, and I
Oh,
can't share them. Okay, what I can do is copy and paste.
okay.
If you guys can't get to the public chat, I don't know why you
How
guys
do you
can't.
get
You
to?
should be able to.
I'm on all.
Really, it doesn't show
yeah,
it.
according to mine, I am too, but it actually says on the line where I'm typing, it says it's, private, but if you I have clicked on all, and it says I'm on all,
That's
but on
weird.
the line, it still says
Huh.
message/private.
That's weird. It shouldn't. And same with D. Weird. Weirdo weird. Well, the first one I posted right here is from the doubleupamerica.org. And then this one is to Arby from oops. No, this one is to Arby from D. Yeah, plant the steak bones, you'll get some steak plants. There we go. So also I want to take that link that I have here and I'm going to drop it in my description. Oh, it pinned it again. Anyways, I will drop that into my description really quick. So y'all can just pull it from the bottom of my description when I am done with the stream,
One
and we
other,
can kind of go from
yeah,
there.
2 other suggestions that I'd make is I could kick myself in the ass when we bought this place. There was so much work that had to be done. We were both working full-time jobs. And you know what we didn't do? We didn't plant any types of fruit trees, bushes, berries, strawberries. If that would have been done, we would have been set for right now, the position that we're in. And now we're just getting started on planting everything. And I'd also suggest looking at doing perennials. I mean, you certainly can do annuals, but you can put a perennial in and have
I
that come
prefer
back for you.
perennials
Yeah,
when I'm putting in plants.
right. And you'll have that come back for you year after year. So take a look at that. Again, the annuals only come up once a year. Your perennials come up all the time. Uh, things like what am I? Tell me if I'm off base on this. The garlics, some of the onions. What else do we get?
As long as you don't pull all the garlics,
All of it.
they will
Yeah,
come back yearly. And
yeah.
same with potatoes,
The
carrots.
rhubarb. I think we have a whole patch of rhubarb out front.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what we were talking about with the family property is putting in 1 acre of just a free range garden
mhm.
where things
Right.
grow, and we're not going to sit there and overbear it. And I know we have ginseng, I believe, down on the property, which I've been talking about going down and harvesting. But our state has some insane laws on harvesting ginseng, even from your own property. It's
Hmm.
like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, see what you guys, ginger can grow in our climate too.
Hmm.
So, grow your
You
own
can
ginger.
Yeah. I know there are some teas that can be done. So
Catnip. Grow
if
your own
yeah,
catnip and make catnip tea.
right. So
Where's
if you're
that?
in a property or
Oh,
I mean, some of this stuff you can put in planters and leave them out in the summer and bring them in the wintertime and move them back and forth. Um, but I guess my thing with that is if you own your own home and you throw a couple things in here or there every year. Like one of the things that we did was we went to different nurseries um, at the end of the year where they had slashed prices on,
yep.
say, fruit trees. And, a tree that might cost you $70, we were able to pick up for $12. And I'm like, so it's a hit or a miss. It either takes or it doesn't. And out of probably, say, 8 apple trees, 6 of them survived very nicely. So, I ended up getting that, for a little bit, under $100 compared to if I would have paid full price. So keep
Yeah.
an eye out on all that year end stuff. And if you just do a little bit at a time, you'll set yourself up to be in a really good position. And that's where I think we did a big fail.
Yeah. And I know if people also want to save a lot of money,
Yep.
grow your own corn and cut it off the cob and blanch it and freeze it, and you will have some really good corn in this
Mm-hmm.
throughout the winter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You were talking about things that come back every year. Um, B and I were talking earlier about sunchokes, which once sunchokes come in, you can't get rid of them. They are like vicious, but if you contain them,
Strawberries
they
too.
are a constant food source. Um, yeah, strawberries too. But
Mm-hmm.
things like, um, uh, right.
We know the
Jersey
word, we just
Royal
can't think.
comes up, not Brussels sprouts, the other one. Yes,
Asparagus.
stalks. Okay,
Yeah, asparagus.
asparagus, comes back every year. Rhubarb comes back every
Mm-hmm.
year. Um, I don't remember if Brussels sprouts do or not, but again, these are things, yeah, any of the berry bushes. So blackberries,
Mm-hmm.
raspberries, Yeah.
My dad has had
Those are all really good sources.
my dad has had the blackberries, raspberries, the white white kind of golden raspberries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's had those growing for probably 15 years now, and they're just starting to where they ain't producing anymore. He thinks it's a lack of bees. I told him to put out in the apothecary for the bees to live in.
Mm-hmm.
He's not up for that, but he also has had black bears coming through eating them, and the deer eating them, and everything else under the sun eating them. But he was just going to plant in some new bushes and pull out the old ones and
Mm-hmm.
ground those up for fertilizer and throw them back out on the ground.
Right.
That's one thing other people also don't realize is you can make your own compost and make your own soil. You don't have to buy it at a store. It is so simple to do. I've done it in a 55-gallon Rubbermaid tote, and it sustained for 3 years before we had to move. So there is so much that we can actually do to make our food and our food costs go further if you just know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, research it. Send this to people who might benefit from it. Seriously, share this out.
So there's what, a total of 7 people or a total of 9 people?
Total of 9 people. I think the locals is just because I don't know. Someone's probably watched it, but
So
I've seen it peak as high as 16 people were in here listening
okay,
to us.
I'm just curious how many people would be interested in if we went and posted some information.
Well,
Um,
I had said that I don't mind making how-to videos.
right.
Even if you guys record it, I can edit it up so it's not like insanely long, doesn't show faces and stuff like that. Keep our
Mm-hmm.
anonymity. I can edit it up. I've got a really good editing program where we can do that and put up the videos on the different channels, on the different servers. Can do all that stuff. I have no problem helping with it.
Okay.
I don't mind being an editor. But yeah, if anyone's interested, please drop comments in the chat or in the comments after the video. Feel free. I know we've been at this for almost 2 hours, and I do got to get my butt in gear for my next project. So, and final thoughts? Because even if Trump
Okay.
does cut this junk food stuff, there's still ways that you can make it at home, which could be a whole nother episode.
And you did bring up the issue that I had with the reversal of rules.
Which one was that? I gotta
Where
go back and look.
that's okay. Where if we're gonna make those on food stamps healthy, the only people that will be able to afford the junk food is the wealthy, and they're the
Uh,
ones that will become heavy
the
and
fat and
obese.
unhealthy. Yeah,
Right.
Faye and I did touch on that actually.
Okay.
That was brought up.
Just wanted to
And
make
I
sure. Yeah.
also brought up about the CPAC thing where people from the January 6th
Mm-hmm. Okay.
people were kicked out.
Yeah.
But I
That,
couldn't pull up the video because it was just going to lag everything down.
you know what? That is disgusting.
It
That son
is.
of a bitch. I'll tell you what. I
You're free to cuss.
I have no words for what I'd like to just slap him right upside his head. All
Now,
them
who was behind
lies.
that CPAC thing? Who was behind that?
Me.
Uh, I'd have to go look. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
We can cover it more tomorrow. I'll cover it more
yeah,
if you want to send
yeah.
it to
Him
me.
and that Mercedes. All I have to say is all the lies that he told. I don't even know what to say.
Oh,
They,
it was that link you sent. The
yeah.
people,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, she tagged a bunch of people.
Yeah,
Anna
we can get
Vandersteel
more.
tagged a
Yeah,
bunch of
we could
people
get
to
more
get
detail
involved,
on it,
but
but
it didn't
it
say who.
yeah, it is just proof that the
Oh, you put it.
rhinos.
Matt and Mercedes Schlapp.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
SCHLAPP.
Mm-hmm. Married couple. Supported Trump. She was in charge of the RNC, and to know that they pulled this crap off is
Hi,
just
Blue.
Hey, Blue Rose. I was just going to respond to that. Freaking hilarious. Oh my god, I love it. There's ways to make hot Cheetos at home. If you can get it in the store, you can make it at home.
Is that what
I'm,
we can make
you know
queso
what? They're
waffles?
going to start turning you in for praying in your own home if you're within a certain mileage. So you better watch it. I'm going to have to turn you into the hot Cheeto police. You know, maybe I could get her. Maybe if we tie that to like a reward, you know, for every person that you catch with a bag of hot Cheetos, you get like $10 or something. You know?
Put a bounty on the Cheeto
Yeah,
eaters.
right. There'll be cameras in the store now. You know what I mean? You'll be afraid to. We'll wear masks just to go in to get a a Coke.
Oh my god,
Where am
that's
I going to get
funny.
my Mountain Dew from? Well, remember, it used to be kids would stand outside the liquor store to try to get an adult to go in and buy them a bottle of alcohol. We'll be like standing with a mask outside
Did you see what?
outside a Walmart, right, with the kid going, psst, psst, go get me a 2-liter bottle of Coke. You know?
That's what I used to do for a pack of cigarettes. Hey, I need a pack of Marlboro Reds. I'll give you an extra. I'll give you 5 to go buy me a 1 pack for $2.70.
Mm-hmm.
I love Blue Rose's response. I'm Mexican girl. I got resources. Oh, I know Faye stepped away from keyboard. She will be right back. Um, but yeah, there's just been so much chaos going on. And it's like, what the bloody goodness. And again, people are blowing a lot of this out of proportion. I really know they are. And but there are ways to enjoy what you're eating and what you're doing and still be healthy. And I agree, those snack cakes need to have all those extra nonsense things pulled out of them.
Oh,
They
I
Notice
agree.
don't
that.
need those in the recipe. I'm sorry. Or hell, go back to making them at home or making them
Right.
locally and selling them from a bakery. You know how much a
Mm-hmm.
baker would make for
Right.
making Twinkies in a neighborhood?
That's the
Holy
problem. That
crap.
would be supporting small businesses,
Well,
which is bad for
No,
Disney.
supporting small businesses. My son's over here saying it's bad for small businesses. It's bad for big businesses and big industry.
right.
Wait.
Yeah, it would be bad for Disney if we did small businesses.
Yep.
And like again, you know, there was a time when ice cream was made in the parlor. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
shipped
There was a
in.
time they made Coca-Cola of ice cream.
Yes, it's a float, and you still can do that.
There's a diner that still does it. And
Yes.
people were wondering, where's the cocaine?
My son's chiming in. I wish he would just get on a mic. But no, there was times when soda was made locally. It wasn't shipped around in syrups and stuff.
We had our own local.
Soda
I mean,
shops.
we used to have a milkman, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that delivered milk and cheese and left it in a box every morning, you know.
Yep.
Those
There was
things.
a house my grandparents lived in that had a coal chute because they had
Mm-hmm.
a coal burning furnace, and they would have to go down, load up the coal,
Yep.
and they would get the coal delivered through a chute that would go straight to the basement. It happens. It existed, People, there was a time when we survived with great food and it wasn't coming from a store. It was coming from your own backyard. It's
Right.
like wild. And this is why I like butchers and farmers markets and stuff. Yep. Only reason we have so much soda is the corn syrup subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me, to be quite honest. It wouldn't surprise me. And it doesn't
Well,
mold as quickly as regular sugar possibly would. And RB and Blue Rose should jump up here one day and join us. If I wasn't, of course, he's probably walking Baxter.
the
So,
the corn syrup is. I think you'll find that ingredient in probably just about everything.
I want to point this out. I've heard this is very true. I have yet to actually convince my family to buy some for me to try it, but Mexican
Well, you
soda is supposed to be made completely different.
I actually have one in my cart. Blue and I had this discussion, and I had been looking to buy Coke to order to bring it in, and I had seen it says Mexican Coke, and I'm like,
Hmm.
what?
It's better
And
for you.
there's Mexican Sprite, and you know what it is? All it is the ingredient plus sugar.
Yeah,
The difference is the corn syrup, the high fructose
it's
corn
gone.
syrup. Yep, is gone. And
And
it
Arby
used to.
put something up about where he's at. I think it's Massachusetts, I believe is the
Yeah, I
state.
heard of this.
They're
Yeah.
trying to pass a soda tax. It's some bullshit. They won't take it off of EBT, even though it's
Hmm.
10% of EBT purchases. But they will tax a normal person for wanting to drink soda. Yep. It's not okay. And as Blue Rose was saying, is because it's real sugar. Yes,
Hmm. Hmm.
it is very much real
And it
sugar.
costs,
And
and
we
that
need to
costs a
get
lot
back
of
to it.
money.
That would
Oh, and Arby added because it's real sugar. Oh, no, that was. Oh, no, it was Arby who added the real sugar.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
posting the wrong things. What do I have pinned up here?
your mom.
I lost where I pinned things because the chat was moving. Oh, Maryland, not Massachusetts. Sorry, my bad. Thank you. I knew it was an M and an A. Maryland. So yeah, it's the world's a mess right now. There's a lot we can do to make it better. And again, this is stuff that we should have been probably doing all along. You evil doxing Green Witch Elf. Shit. It's all right. It's all right. It's just the elf that's doing it. We blame the elf always. So, but yeah, it's just been like there is so much people don't realize they can do even in a city. There is so many ways you could live healthier for cheaper and make those food stamps stretch better. Like yeah, you got to put the work in. Sorry, but if there's kids at your home, have them help. They will it is so much fun to watch a young child's eyes light up as they see a plant cycle in real life.
Hmm.
And they knew they grew that. They put those seeds in the ground and look what has come out of it. It is really fun to get them involved. Get your kids involved in this. Make it an after school project. Check on the garden. Check on this. Let's pick what's ripe. I used to do this with my kids, even though they still to this day don't like doing it now that they're older, but they loved it when they were younger. And it sets them up for good habits. Then my kids became teenagers and electronics got involved and I lost my kids. But, they pay for their own electronics now. I don't got to pay for them. So, but yeah, it's definitely something to do is get your kids involved at a young age. My dad had me helping with gardens from the time I could walk and move around. Hell, I was out in the garage handing them tools still in a diaper. So get your kids involved as much as you can. And it'll set them up for a better future than just, snack cakes as dinner, you know. Snack cakes are not a good dinner. And there are people who have done that. I've actually known a few who just give their kids snack cakes. And then you got your kids who are raised that way. And then when you try to change it, oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Which ones? It's cold. You can buy with EBT. Um, Hold on. I'm trying to read this. The gas station convenience stores around me. Um, they have fried chicken. It's fried chicken when it's hot. It can't be purchased on EBT. Yes, that is something that's true. There are places though up in Detroit. I know they do this in Detroit. There are stores that you buy the food raw and they charge you like $1 or $2 to cook it for you. And so you pay $1 or $2 cash and you get hot chicken. They have found ways around this. Um, so yeah. Um, Yes, exactly. They make the cold leftovers available. And so there are places that have found loopholes like, hey, you know what? We'll charge a little extra for the raw meat, but then we charge you a couple bucks cash and we'll cook it for you. And you don't got to cook it yourself. Um, I don't know if they do that out there, but there are stores in Detroit, Michigan that do that all the time. It is a nice little loophole that they can get away with. And yeah, it's no different than buying the meat from the You can buy a whole ham and then go to the butcher shelf in the store and ask them to cut it for you, and they'll cut it for you. And you can do that. There's so much you can actually do on food stamps. People don't know you can do.
Well, that's probably something that they should, have more information.
And that's something Faye and
Obviously,
I did touch on
Yeah.
at the beginning of the episode is,
Yeah.
the food stamp department needs to educate people on how to actually shop with
Right.
food stamps to make it last. And other things they can buy, like the fruit plants and the vegetable plants and the seeds, you can buy those all on food stamps in most states.
hmm
Utilize it to its fullest. Why just go in and buy 15 bags of chips, 15 boxes of snack chips, some frozen pizzas, and a ton of soda?
When you can get the same healthy stuff for the same price.
I know how to make homemade pizza. Making dough is not hard. I can go ahead and show y'all a recipe on how to make dough. My daughter will help me, and I'll have my son hold the camera. We can totally make pizza dough.
We can.
It's so easy and so cheap. For what it costs to make buy 3 Red Baron pizzas, I can make 6 different pizzas at home. Just going to point that out. But healthy people don't need a medical system functioning on a pay-per-procedure and stuck on meds. I know, it's so weird.
They're going to go back to. I'm trying to think in around what time frame they had talked about going back to. If you use the plan, you're the one that's going to pay for the plan. So, in other words, somebody that is sick as me is going to have super high premiums.
Yeah.
If you're not sick, then you're going to see, almost zero. Right now.
1 second, I got to correct Arby. It's not flour, yeast, and water. You still got to add eggs. I add Parmesan Romano Asiago cheese to the dough. I add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt. So, I mean, if you want just bland bread, yeah. Well, I'm lazy and bought the pre-made dough from the store. I haven't. I want to have pizza, even though I can make it myself. Yeah. That's how I don't even buy pre-made dough. I just make it. I buy lots of flour and I make dough throughout the day. And then I let it rise, and by dinner time it's ready to go. And boom. And then you can freeze dough.
The problem is
Yes,
when
you do.
Here's the problem.
Yes, you do need eggs.
Yeah. Well, one of the major problems is
No,
if you're
no,
holding
not
on
in a pizza dough.
I put eggs in my pizza dough. I'm sorry, Dee. We didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Dee.
I was just going to say one of the hardest problems is working a full-time job, married or not married, children or not children. But if you have pets, dog, cats, trying to take care of a house, do laundry, even the way we do laundry is different today. Back in the day, things weren't washed every day. Now you take off a t-shirt and you throw it in the wash. It didn't used to be like that. So things that we think are conveniences have actually made our life a little bit more difficult. And,
Yeah.
That's
in
true.
today.
But I am curious. I've never made pizza dough without eggs. I've always had eggs in it. Am I weird?
Obviously. Weird is weird, right?
I've never had it without eggs. I've got to be the weird one here. We always put 1 or 2 eggs up in the dough when we're mixing it.
Yeah.
And I also use a little bit of butter or oil in it as well.
No, go.
Am I weird?
We'll have to have a taste test comparison to see if there's a difference.
Yeah.
I think I'm the weirdo here. I really think I'm the weirdo now because I've always put eggs. That's how my family's done it. That's how I've done it. Oh my God. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, as far as, pizza dough, pre-made, you can get Jiffy, pizza dough mix, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, like, less than $1 a box. It makes 2 crusts, and you can always dress those crusts up. It's still gonna be cheaper than buying the ones that are completely pre-made, but it's something
Yeah.
to think about.
And it doesn't take long to make dough.
No.
Yeah, and see, Arby, it's just him and Baxter. So I get where he actually has time, but his job is also kind of demanding too. It's not really always set hours, so um for the most part it is, but sometimes it's not. So it's like, yeah, I get it. And if you do have someone at home, and teach your kids to cook. What's so hard about teaching kids to cook? On the weekends, if you're not working, teach them to cook. If they're hungry, they'll learn to cook.
Well, all I know is my staple of ramen noodles is it deep, deep. Uh,
You could own ramen by now.
I
You can
know I
own the
could.
company.
I know I could. Although it's not like it used to be. I've only had it since I've been home probably 3 times. After being away for 31 days and having no access to it, I was in uh, withdrawal symptoms. So, uh, but I listened to a podcast where they talked about how it's nothing but cardboard and all this other stuff, and then I saw another podcast where supposedly in the Midwest they make a ramen salad with coleslaw in it, ranch dressing, almonds, and some other things. And I thought, that's a weird combination. Uh, I've never heard of having ramen noodles in a salad. So, uh, yuck. That's all I have to say about that is yuck. But I don't know if I'll be able to give that
Um,
up. Could we at least have everybody? How about this? We take away your benefit, but you get one vice. You can pick one thing to have. Like,
Each
you
month.
want. Oh, that'd be. We could switch it up. Yeah, it wouldn't have to be for. That'd work. Blue could have hot Cheetos 1 month, and then the next month she could go for, Coke or, you know, hot Cheeto pretzels or, whatever. I'd be agreeable to that. But who's going to manage that? You know?
Oh, not me.
Me neither.
uh,
Could you see Walmart trying to, get their computer systems to tag all that?
I'm sorry. My family is being really loud in the background.
That's
I'm going to
okay.
mute till they're out of the room.
That's okay. I'm pretty much finished. I think you guys have gone
well,
on pretty long.
one of the things that B and I were talking about is I kind of wish there was a way that they could limit the percentage of like the food stamps on what you could spend on soda and snack cakes, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could only spend, well, no more than a quarter of your
Right.
benefits on those kind of things. Because I have no problem with people who want to buy some snack cakes or a case of soda, or I just don't think it should be all they're buying.
Right. And I don't have a problem with that. That's a nice solution, I think. I can remember back in, well, I don't want to date myself, but back in the day when they had the food stamps that were in the booklet, and they had to tear them out like cash.
Mhm.
They were
Oh,
you could
yes,
only
that's the
you
kind
could
that I
only
had.
purchase certain things. I mean, I've never been on food stamps, but the neighborhood that I lived in, there were a lot of people that had them. So it was like, you tore it out like a checkbook and coughed over the money, but
Mhm.
like they weren't allowed to be used for like cleaning supplies. So if you want, and that never
Exactly.
made any
I
sense.
I am I am completely stunned that there are places that you can buy things like paper towel, shampoo, um, conditioner, cleaning supplies. That blows me away because years ago when I was on food stamps, you couldn't buy any of that.
No,
If it was
actually it's the cash assistance where people get a cash amount that they can use to buy that each month. It's separate than food stamps, but it's all on the same card. So
Mm,
people who say they're getting it on food stamps actually are on cash assistance welfare as well as the food
okay,
assistance. And
well,
it's all
that
just comes on the
yeah.
same card and it distinguishes it as you're paying through the card and it divides it up through the bank itself that handles the funding.
okay.
Oh, I don't
I
know
mean,
about if
don't get me
that was the same as back in the day, but like what Faye's saying is the same thing that I'm saying. They weren't allowed to. Well, in her case, they were buying the shampoo and that, right, Faye? They were allowed to
Mhm.
get it, right? But
Yes.
in
Yeah, in
my
certain
case,
states. So,
yeah,
like, Illinois, you could, but Indiana, you could not.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was frustrating that at the beginning of the month, there's me. I was a coupon clipper, and they used to do double coupons, and
Oh,
I'd be
Yep.
yes.
looking. I'd budget based on whatever the flyers came out.
Oh,
That's how we were doing dinner, right?
you
And
just reminded me. You can use coupons with EBT and still get the
yeah,
coupon price put onto your EBT balance.
right.
Just so you know.
And you know, people would come in, and you think that the guy with the two carts was something. You should have seen what used to happen back in the day. I mean, there were full on steaks and the meats, and it was mind boggling what was available. And I'm like, if I could have, a third of your cart, I'd be able to stretch that. I mean, even now, things are so bad that, we're doing spaghetti once a week. We're doing eggs for dinner. We're doing breakfast for dinner. So I'm making,
Mhm.
eggs and, well, bacon's getting out of control. So we haven't had that. But eggs, potatoes, and maybe toast and a hot cup of tea. And, things that used to be, ground meats that you could make a meatloaf and stretch, or, a whole chicken. Everything is just totally uh, almost out of reach, and I really don't know how people do it. I really don't. It's very difficult, I think, right now for people. A
I
gallon of
also
milk. I think you said you paid what, $10 for eggs?
a dozen eggs is what we paid
Yeah,
for. We
yeah,
paid $10 for the other day.
yeah. That is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then I heard that was just being that the prices will come down in the
I want
spring.
to address some
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wanna address what Arby said
I was going to
about
talk on it, but go ahead.
people who buy not everybody gets any type of cash assistance. So sometimes the only way you could get a bottle of Dawn
Oh,
Mm-mm.
I think you cut out.
I don't hear you, Faye.
Did Fizzy mute you? Um, what she's saying, and I know where she's going with this, is sometimes that's the only way people could get enough cash to get Dawn dish soap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they would, have to sell some so they could get some money to do that. It looks like Faye's internet may have kicked her. So but I get where she was going, and I've known people who struggled. They were not able to find a job. All they got was food stamps, and they had to find ways to get a little bit of money. In Michigan, you can cash in empties, your empty soda bottles for 10
Right.
cents each. And again, people would go around collecting those from trash cans, whatever, to try and get a few bucks together to get what they needed that they couldn't get on food stamps. So
Mhm.
I understand. Oh, I know you're not judging, but there are people who do it to, yes, get cigarettes, liquor, drugs. Yeah, I know that is a big problem. And I can understand like a once in a while thing doing that, but the people who do it every single month, yeah, there's a problem. And there is a problem with it. Let me I just got a DM from Faye. Hold on one second. She Yes, she did.
Then the other thing I think is interesting, and I don't know about food stamps, is are you allowed to buy pet food with that?
No, you're not. Pet
Okay.
food is not allowed.
Then I could see a stamp being sold for that in exchange for, you know, you have a small dog or whatever.
So, we don't have flu A or strep.
What?
We don't have flu A or strep.
Why? What is it?
It came out. It's ear infection, but I don't have any. My ear ain't hurting or anything.
Oh, you don't have to have an earache to have an ear infection.
But
Sorry, everyone's barging in, but go ahead.
blood pressure.
No, we're good. I think I'm pretty much done if you are.
Yeah, I was just letting Faye know if she wants to pop in to say bye. That's fine. We've been going for 2 hours and 11 minutes, so and family is starting to need me. I'll hang around a few more minutes, see if Faye pops in. But I really do appreciate every single person that popped in today and share this to people. They would sell food stamps to buy lottery tickets. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, when I was a kid, they used to send us in the stores a $5 food
You're gonna have to
stamp.
get closer.
When I was a kid, if anybody can relate, parents used to send us in to buy candy so we can get the change so they can have money for cigarettes.
Because of the $5 food
Mhm.
stamps, it was the
Yes,
smallest denomination they had.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they would send you in to get the
Or
change.
the dollar food stamps. They'll
Yeah.
send us to a bunch of stores.
Yep.
Yeah.
And get the change.
Get the-
And yes, that's another way that the system got scammed. And that's
Uh-huh.
why they switched to the EBT cards because you can't do that with those.
Now the biggest scam that I saw was right down the street from my mom's in Detroit. It was back when Cabbage Patch Doll came out with the birth certificate. The lady down the street actually claimed the doll on her taxes for 10 years straight.
Yes.
And finally, the FBI came in there and raided her and took her to prison. But she got away with it for 10 years.
Now that's funny.
Well, don't tell anybody, but I'm actually one of the
So no wonder we had good
360-year-olds
block parties.
collecting Social Security.
Yeah. That you see a lot of it going on.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'll let you get going. Thank you, everybody. I enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you got something from it. And leave us a comment. We definitely need some likes. Or you could give us a thumbs down, but that we'd prefer a like. And
Yeah.
if there's any questions that you have, feel free to leave it in the comments, and we'll return an answer sooner or later.
All righty.
All right, I'll talk to
Um,
you later.
I'm going to
Thank
throw
you.
up my outro and call it a day.
All right, have a good evening, everybody. Good
You
night.
too.
Good night.
So with that, I thank you all for showing up, being here. And as usual, stay safe, stay sane, stay sober. I truly appreciate those who showed up and those who are going to be watching later on. I will catch y'all on the next one.